R&B diva Cheryl Pepsi Riley. She's up next. Let's talk. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Sorry about this. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, your R&B historian, Peppy. That's right. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode over here, another video upload. And let's jump right into it. Of course, you know I have my call to action. Thank you guys so much for your support. And again, I can't do this without you. And so I'm reaching out, asking you guys for your support, especially for you subscribers out there. Well, I'm trying to get up to that 1,000 subscribers mark, right? We're trying to hit a goal, and the goal is to reach that 1,000 subscribers. It would be a wonderful Christmas gift if I can get to that 1,000 subscribers. You know what? You have not because you ask not. So I'm asking, right? I love the organic way this channel is growing, and I appreciate each and every one of you all out there for your support. So if you're a new viewer, hey, stick around and get to the end of the show, and I'm sure that you're going to like it. If you're a returning viewer and not a subscriber, I'm asking that you subscribe as well. Hit the like button, the share button, all of that. All right. So basically, what do I do over here? Well, I talk mostly about R&B divas. I cover R&B music right now. I also understand that I'm in a particular era of R&B music right now. I'm around in the late 80s, early 90s, and I kind of fluctuate back and forth. So I know for those of you out there who want to cover current R&B divas, I definitely will get around to that. But you know what? You got to start somewhere. And right now, this is pretty much where I am. Talking about R&B divas, I'm actually reviewing their albums, giving some feedback as far as how I feel about the album. And yes, every now and then over here on my channel, we will dish out the dirt on who drop kicked who in these entertainment streets. Every now and then, all right, I will do that. But right now, that call of action pretty much, just trying to get the channel up and moving and growing. And so I can't do that without you guys. All right, so here's the format. I'm working on a new format. I think I'm kind of liking the flow of this format. What I do is we talk about Divas with Books. I discuss the Divas with Books Club. And then I like to share a little bit of what I like. The segment is called Ooh, and I Like It. And then I go back down memory lane, some nostalgia for you, right? And I discuss that. And then at the end, usually it looks like probably around the 20-minute mark or 20-minute, 25-minute, 30-minute mark is when I tackle the album review. So you want to stick around for me discussing Cheryl Pepsi Riley's debut album, Me, Myself, and I. Totally looking forward to that. All right. And so here we are again. I want to cover, my Divas with Books. That's right. My Divas with Books segment of the show. All right. And who do we have right now? We have Faith Evans, Keep the Faith, Gladys Knight, Between Each Line of Pain and Glory, David Nathan, The Soulful Divas, and George Cinderella Irby's I Still Say Yes. These books are a part of my Divas with Books Club. And as you can see that there are behind me the books that I just mentioned. This is not a paid promotion at all. These are just books that I like, that I'm reading, um, have read, in the process of reading, or almost done reading. All right. And just stick around with that, because as I've said in previous videos, I'm looking forward to doing something with the Divas with Books Club. All right. So thank you guys so much for that. Whoo, child, I tell you, moving right along, because I'm trying to get some things out of the way. Now, I want to also talk to you guys about another, as I said, ooh, and I like it. I want to talk to you guys about a book that I read, that I actually came across. My sister, well, she's no longer doing it, but from time to time she will sell Mary Kay. And so one day, years ago, I was over to her house, and I actually happened to see this book on her coffee table. And so I just looked at it. I was like, I was in the mood to try to read something one day. And I looked and I was like, oh, I said, this has seemed interesting. And at that moment in time, I was really interested in looking for something inspiring, inspirational. And well, I picked up the book, to read it. And I promise you guys, this is actually a good book. Mary Kay Ash. Miracles happens. All right. And if you are a Mary Kay consultant, then you already know that this is probably the book that, they give you as far as, you're supposed to read, I'm sure, and know about the company and all of that. And yes, I actually still have a copy. It's my sister's copy. It's not my copy. But I also have a copy of this book. And since I had to pull my books out, I happened to stumble across this book, so I need to give it back to my sister. I think I'm going to do that tomorrow. give the book back to my sister. But it's a great book, and it says here, born in rural Texas at the end of World War I, Mary Kay spent her childhood keeping house and caring for her sick father while her mother supported the family. Years later, as a single mother at a time when very few women worked outside the house, Mary Kay was determined to pursue her professional goals. 25 years later, after she retired from a successful career in direct selling, Mary Kay, a middle-aged grandmother, felt the call of a challenge. In founding what she termed her dream company, Mary Kay exceeded her own expectations and became a champion for women. Miracles Happen is Mary Kay's story of her life, of her lifetime of outstanding personal, professional, and philanthropic achievements. With her characteristic warmth and charm, she recounts the struggles and fundamental lessons of her early years and the resolve she needed to face her toughest obstacles. Though Mary Kay made it to the top of the corporate ladder, perhaps what is most important is that she brought hundreds of thousands of women with her. Hundreds of thousands of women with her. The techniques and timeless principles on which she built an internationally recognizable cosmetic empire, and her inspiration for forming against the odds what is irrefutably a different kind of company, make for an inspiring read. It does. It makes for an inspiring read. One of the things I like most about this book, I guess you could say, is her sheer determination. Like, she was determined, and she pretty much, I guess you could say, she visualized it. She definitely knew what she wanted, and sometimes she didn't always look the part. Okay, and you have to read the book to realize that. But when I say didn't look the part as far as the way she dressed, and so on and so forth, she definitely had found herself in some times of need, if you will, but still soldiering on in order to make the company what she wanted it to become. But this is what I would say most importantly that I discovered from reading this book that I found intriguing. In the book, she talked about people hiring her, whether people or companies hiring her to come out to speak to their employees or speak at conferences, so on and so forth. And she basically had a way in which she would kind of determine how she was going to deliver her message, if you will. And one of the things she did was she had what she would consider the real talk. Okay, and that's not the terms that she used, but I'm talking about the real talk, the talk where she was definitely giving people the information that she wanted them to have. All right, that she came for. This was the information when she kind of could feel the audience out and know that this particular group of people, this audience, they really wanted the real deal stuff, from her. And then she had a way of filling out the audience to see if these people just showed up and they just was not interested. And so she gave them the message, if you will, the one that was just kind of like, hey, all right, you guys look at this like this is a waste of your time. So I'm not going to waste my time giving you the good stuff, if you will, all of my wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I'm not going to waste my time with this if you guys are not interested. So she had another backup message, a backup speech, if you will, that she would give, if I recall then. And I just found that to be kind of interesting. And I think at this moment in time, that's something that I could definitely utilize, like say, hey, do you want to feel, do you want the good stuff, or do you don't want, you're not interested? I don't want to waste my time if you're not totally interested in it. So that's what I found to be very interesting about this book. One of the highlight moments, if you will. And so, as I said before, it's a good book. I really and truly liked it. And as you can tell, it's not that much in the book at all. All right. Not at all. Whew. All right. Moving right along, we're going to go back and go into this next segment of the show, which is called Back Down Memory Lane. All right. So let's see. What do I have? Oh, Lord, I tell you, I'm just trying to catch up on some things, you guys. So bear with me. It's really, truly been, I ain't going to say late, but, I'm doing a lot of videos here. I want to talk about rhythm and blues today. Just give you some, for people who don't know, just give you some information about rhythm and blues and how rhythm and blues came about, okay? Is pretty much what I want to do right now. So let's get it started. Rhythm and blues. Bear with me as I get myself together. So rhythm and blues, frequently abbreviated as R&B, okay, is a genre of popular music that originated within African American communities in the 1940s. The term was originally used by record companies to describe recordings marketed predominantly to African Americans at a time when rocking, jazz-based music with a heavy, insistent beat was becoming more popular. And the commercial rhythm and blues music typical of the 1950s through the 1970s. The bands usually consisted of a piano, one or two guitars, bass, drums, and one or more saxophones, and sometimes background vocalists. R&B lyrical themes often encapsulate the African American history and experience of pain and the quest for freedom and joy, as well as triumphs and failures in terms of societal racism, oppression, relationships, economics, and aspiration. The term rhythm and blues has undergone a number of shifts in meaning. In the early 1950s, it was frequently applied to blues records, Starting in the mid-1950s, after this style of music had contributed to the development of rock and roll, the term R&B became used in a wider context. It referred to music styles that developed from and incorporated electric blues as well as gospel and soul music. From the 1960s to the 1970s, some British groups were referred to and promoted as being R&B bands. By the 1970s, the term rhythm and blues had changed once again and was used as a blanket term for soul and funk. In the late 1980s, a newer style of R&B developed, becoming known as contemporary R&B. It combines rhythm and blues with various elements of pop, soul, funk, disco, hip hop, and electric or electronic music. Okay. And I think that the reason why I wanted to cover this or go back down memory lane or just cover some topics related to music, because you know what? We're dealing with a new these are new times, if you will, in music. And I'm finding that newer individuals, let's just say those who were probably born in 2000 all the way up to now, probably don't really and truly care about the origins of music and where it's come from, honing your skills or anything like that. So anytime that I can get myself and find myself into a place where I can, give out some information, then that's what I want to do, is to give out that information and just pretty much kind of teach people about what it is that I like, as well as kind of, give myself a refresher as well. So it's R&B music. Is it R&B music? I believe that R&B music is still alive and well. I really and truly do. And that's the reason why I want to discuss R&B music, especially with R&B divas. Number one, we have an issue where people are saying that R&B music is DEAD, but as I said before, I believe R&B music is alive and well. I have my own theories about the reason why R&B music is not celebrated, but that is a whole nother discussion. Hopefully, maybe one day I can get around to discussing that as well. But at this moment in time, what I want to do here with this channel is that I want to celebrate the music that I enjoy listening to, the music that I grew up listening to, and to support the R&B divas, right? These divas, they're still out, they're touring, they're recording, they're doing all of these things. And what I want you guys to do pretty much is go out and support them, because I'm here to tell you they need it, especially R&B divas. Now, when it comes to the soul man, that's probably another story, but we're talking about African-American, brown and black skin women, women of color, whatever, beige women, however you want to call it. And they typically find themselves in a situation that even after they've given their best is still not good enough. And we're talking about R&B divas, the R&B divas that I'm talking about, of the 80s and the 70s. You had to sing, you had to dance, you had to write, you had to produce, you had to play, you had to do all of those things. And again, it still wasn't good enough. They were still getting, if you will, the short end of the stick. All right. Now, let's talk about R&B diva Cheryl Pepsi Riley. That's right. R&B diva Cheryl Pepsi Riley. Oh gosh, I remember like yesterday when Cheryl Pepsi Riley came out. I do. This R&B diva, when she released her first song, Thanks for My Child, that song was very controversial. It was. And I'm going to talk about the album in a minute and give you some background on her. Matter of fact, I know me. Let me stick to the way I have this formatted. So let's talk about Cheryl Pepsi Riley just briefly, real briefly, and then I'll finish up what I was about to talk about. So Cheryl Bridget Riley was born in Brooklyn, and she was the first of two children born to James Madison Riley and Lucille Viola Riley. Riley attended Clara Barton High School, and after high school, she worked as a nurse for disabled children before beginning her singing career. Oh my gosh, I do remember that. That was said to be her profession before singing. Riley began her music career as a lead singer in the band Stargaze, who released the single You Can't Have It in 1982. In November of 1988, Riley topped the R&B charts and hit the top 40 on the pop charts at number 32 with the ballad Thanks for My Child, a song written by Full Force. The song peaked at number 75 in the UK in January of 1989. The genesis of Thanks for My Child began with Full Force member Bow-Legged Lou's experience with the complications of his wife's first pregnancy. The title track, single to her debut LP, Me, Myself, and I, made it to number 18 on the R&B charts in early 1989. Another single, Every Little Thing About You, peaked at number 55 on the R&B charts later that year. All right. And so, again, the song was very controversial because I know my demographic now, so I can say people my age, all right, in a particular age bracket. But I remember back in the 1988, 1989, 1990, and let's just say 91, there seemed to be a lot of teenage pregnancy. And I don't think that Cher Pepsi Riley at the time, I don't think the song was about her being a teenage mother. But I remember how some of the teenage women or teenage girls at the time, how I felt like that song really and truly connected not only to single mothers, but single teenage mothers, or just, well, I could say single teenage mothers. That doesn't necessarily mean that the father was absent in that teenager's life, if you will, but the fact of them going through being teenage mothers. That song was also kind of like an anthem as well. And I feel as if that song also gave these teenage mothers some support, some inspiration, like Thanks for My Child, okay, I'm in high school, I'm pregnant in high school. No, that's not the route that you should go in life. But then again, it's also something, I guess, not to be embarrassed about as well. Without telling people stories that I do know about, I will say this. I can recall someone who became a teenage mother at a very young age, and how the family rallied around this particular female, and the thing that I can say most about this young lady's experience on the outside, I guess, looking in, is that while it was devastating that she was pregnant at a young age, at the same time, the parents was like, but your life is not over. And we still have high hopes for you. And that's when the family rallied around this particular young lady and gave her as the support that she needed. And eventually, not only did this young lady graduate high school, she graduated high school, she went to college. Then not only did she go to college, but she earned her degree in education. She became a teacher. Her first year out, she was Teacher of the Year, if I'm not mistaken, within the state that she was. I think it was a state, within the state. Then eventually she went on from that to becoming an ordained minister. And she was a young, I'm going to tell you one more time, a young teenage mother. And as I said, how the family rallied around her. And for me, and I know we're talking about the album review, but let me get into this. But for me, what I've noticed, and I don't know about now, because I'm a particular age, I don't necessarily, pretty much see teenage pregnancy. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying like I'm not, I guess I'm in a bubble when it comes to that. But what I will say is that I know when it comes to African American households in the past, because my mother was a teenage mother, with me. And what I've noticed back then versus probably now is that we're going to support you, you're going to take care of your child, so on and so forth. We're not going to abandon you. In some cases, that's not all cases. But I'm wondering now, is that still the case? Is it kind of like, oh, you're on your own? Because you have to think about it now. Most of the teenage mothers, if they're out there, listen, we don't have grannies anymore. Grandma, grandma and granddad, they are not that age. They don't have that wisdom anymore. I'm sorry. I hate to say it that way. It's just not, it's just not there anymore, So again, what I'm saying is that, it wasn't always a lost cause, because Black women, not only did they have to support and take care of their own households, they were also taking care of other people's households as well as a particular time. And that part of history kind of trickled down to, I guess, within the 80s. And I'm wondering if it's still there. That's what I'm trying to get to. So again, Thanks for My Child is a very, very powerful song still to this day, and yeah. So while it's about single mothers, but I can also think about how to relate it with with what was going on around me at the time. I was also thinking about a lot of single mothers as well. That's what I was trying to get to. But anyway, let's get into the album review. Woo! Cheryl, get Cheryl on the phone. Get Cheryl on the phone. Get Cheryl on the phone. I'm going to try to get to the review and stay within the review. Hold on, you guys. I'm looking for something because I think I'm a little off. Hold on. I'm sorry about that. I thought I had it. I guess what I want to look for, I want to see if I listen to the album in the order that it was supposed to be in. I don't know. I'm going to say I don't. I don't know. I feel like I missed something. Y'all bear with me. Well, let's dive right into it. I don't know. It feels like something is not right. It's not adding up. But anyway. Does she have a song? I thought so. Okay. I am right. I'm sorry. I finally found out. Okay, so I don't think I listened to the songs in the right order because I'm looking at the listing over here and then I'm looking at my notes and something is not adding up, even though I listened to this album like months ago, about a month ago. So the first song that I heard, and I'm not sure if it was in this right order or not, but she has a song called Sister Knows What She Wants. And it's very much 80s to me. And I can't quite figure out who she sounds like. I can't place it, but this song definitely sounds familiar to me. And I'm glad that I'm bringing up that this particular song sounds familiar to me, Sure Pepsi Riley's album, or this song sounds familiar to me. I'm going to tell you why. When I'm listening to her album, Me, Myself, and I don't know. And maybe this would be a question that I would have to ask Full Force as well. I don't recall listening to a lot of music back in the 80s where I would hear that a song was being sampled. All right. I don't recall that at all. I recall a lot of remakes, okay, but not a lot of songs that were sampled. And so when I hear this song, Sister Knows What She Wants, I'm saying to myself, like, I know this sounds familiar, but I just don't know who this sounds like. And what I will eventually find with this album is that even though it's a good album, I think that Full Force, while they're playing around with something new, since it's 1988 and they're playing around with something new, it looks like they're playing around with sampling. And they're sampling some great music. But it almost like it gets kind of lost in the shuffle as if they really and truly don't know how they want to show off, I guess, the talented Sure Pepsi Riley. All right. So having said that. And then I heard the next song, which is called Thanks for My Child. No need to go back down that road. I've already told you how I felt about Thanks for My Child. Okay. Now, I will say this, though. Thanks for My Child. When I heard it, I never made the connection or the distinction. You can disagree with me. That's fine. But I was listening to it and I said to myself, I was like, wait a minute. Thanks for My Child sounds a lot like Karen White's Superwoman, right? Both of these songs were very much women anthems at the time. 1988, Karen White's Superwoman, and 1988's Sure Pepsi Riley, Thanks for My Child. Both of them are similar. And I think that either diva could, like, I think that Sure Pepsi Riley would do a wonderful job with Superwoman, and Karen White would do a wonderful job with Thanks for My Child. I see these two divas' voices being similar that way. Yeah, yeah. Now that I think about it. Then there's another song on the album called Falling to the Floor. And this is when I get into this sampling where, as I said, it seems as if it's not finding its way, with this album. And the opening song, the song opens, Falling to the Floor opens with a sample of the Isley Brothers' Voyage to Atlantis. Great song, it's just sampled. And then I heard the next single, which would be Every Little Thing About You. It opens up, it sounds like Baby, I'm For Real. And I'm like, okay, I like it. And I'm glad that they did not try to make it. And at this moment in time, even though she sounds great, the album is so far as decent. I guess as I'm listening to Sure Pepsi Riley, you know what I'm about to say. You have to at this moment in time. By the time I get to the fourth single on the album, or the fourth song on the album, I'm saying to myself, even though I'm hearing the sampling and I'm getting a little bit of a Karen White, if you will, I'm also saying to myself, oh, thank goodness they don't have her sounding like Lisa of Cult Jam, right? That's what I'm saying to myself. All right, but hold on, we shall see. So that's what I'm saying. I'm glad they're not trying. And then, of course, I get to one of my favorite songs. My favorite song, Me, Myself, and I love it. I do. A great song, wonderful song. And then I hear the next song, He Said, She Said. It sounds like I heard it through the grapevine by Gladys Knight. Then I get to the next song. It's called Sisters. And guess what? It sounds like Lisa and Cup Jams head to toe. All right. And now I'm like, okay, come on, you guys. There's nothing new here. There's nothing here new at all. And then seeing is believing. It's like it picks up. It tries to pick up here. Seeing is believing. And it looks like it tries to get your attention. But it's not enough to get your attention because I'm thinking about all the things I've heard previously from that and how everything is just, it's just not, this album is just not adding up to me at all when it comes to the overall theme of the album. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not working. But Life Goes On, I like. The last song I heard, Life Goes On, definitely shows you that Cheryl Pepsi Riley can sing, all right? Life Goes On. I know, I guess overall in general, what I'm getting from Cheryl Pepsi Riley with this album is that I'm getting I'm getting a good effort. I'm getting a good effort. I'm getting a good effort in that I think I'm saying to myself, like, this album should have been bigger, right? But the songs that I hear now in my head and her song choices, while it looks like they're probably trying to bridge the old and the new, especially the old and the new with these R&B divas that they have obviously sampled, like, you know, Gladys Knight, I heard it through the grapevine, the Shy Lights, Baby, I'm for real, a little bit of the Isley Brothers voice to the Atlantis, and then I get a little bit of Lisa and Coach Jam. It's almost like you find yourself saying, who is Cheryl Pepsi Riley? Who is she as a diva? You know, I don't think that she has an identity with this. And even though the song Thanks for My Child is a big song, it's a big record for her. And it's the song, obviously, it's like her signature song. I think it's fair to say that because this is her first album and they're trying to bring everything together for her, you know, conceptually. I think it would probably be unfair for me to say that this is a bad album. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it could have been any one of those songs that they released. And it could have took off, like, you know, the song that sampled, I heard it through the grapevine. What's the name of that song again? He Said, She Said. Like, they could have chose any one of these songs to be the lead song. And for whatever reason, they chose Thanks for My Child. And what I'm saying is because Thanks for My Child hit, it put her in that category of being that kind of singer, if you will. And this is the type of songs that she should sing. Versus if they had released another song on the album, let's just say Falling from the Floor. Let's just say if they released Falling from the Floor and that song hit, would we or would they have released another song on the album that was kind of like a sample? And would she become like, oh, well, we like Cheryl Pepsi Riley because, you know, she does some great samples, if you will, you know. Do you understand where I'm going? I hope it makes sense. So that's why I say I can't say this is a bad album. Again, I think overall for me, the feel that I'm getting with them is that Full Force is obviously doing something new with music, at least from what I can hear. And as I said, they're sampling versus remaking songs. So that's great. I love it. When it works, it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think for this album, I rather would have heard the samples than to actually hear the actual song. Assure Pepsi Riley actually singing Voyage to Atlantis, or I heard it through the grapevine. I would rather for them to have sampled it than to actually make it a cover record. That's where I'm going. So shout out to them for that. I think, like I said, it's obviously something new, that they're doing with her. And I think that it's definitely appreciated, the way they went about doing it. Overall, in general, a decent album. I don't know. I think I'm going to give this one another C minus, maybe C plus effort, looking forward to listening to her second record that she released. And I think that single, if I'm not mistaken, was called How Could You Hurt the One You Love, which was, again, another great record. But it looks like she's about to fall into that category. Ooh, now that I think about it, she and Shirley Murdoch would be these two R&B divas where they obviously are women of integrity in their music, if you will, as far as talking about particular issues. So, hey, great job. Great job. Well, if you made it to this point in the show, I appreciate that. Again, I think it's appropriate for me to ask you to go ahead on and hit that subscribe button, that like button, all of that. I appreciate it. And as you know, on that note, I want you to remember to put your behind where your heart desires. I'm sorry, I drew a blank. On that note, I want you to remember to put your behind where your heart desires to be. And whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, baby, remember I love you, but God loves you best. I look forward to seeing you guys next video. And until then, you know what you need to do. Take care of yourselves out there. All right. Talk to you later.